Hello, Jen Baker here. I wanted to read a scripture for you to encourage you if you are struggling with despair. I don't know about you, but I think pretty much everybody at one point or another struggles with despair, feeling the sense of despair, the sense of God, what are you doing? God, when is it going to happen? God, how is it going to happen? It's very common, and yet we are not called to live in despair. We are called to live in hope and to live in faith and to move in a direction that says, God, I believe that you are going to turn this around and you're going to turn it around for good. There's a scripture I read this morning that I really liked. It was out of Exodus 23. Verses 20 to about 30, 33. In the Message Bible, it says this: I will send despair on ahead of you. It will push the Hivites, the Canaanites, and the Hittites out of your way. I won't get rid of them all at once, lest the land will grow up in weeds and the wild animals take over. Little by little, I'll get them out of there, while you have a chance to get your crops going and to make the land your own. Now, I love this for several reasons, but one, it says, God says, I'm going to put despair ahead of you, not alongside you. Despair is to go ahead of you, and despair is for the enemy. It is not for us. So God sends despair ahead of us for the enemy, but he does it little by little. And what happens is we can be here looking forward, and we can still see the enemy in the future. We can still see him working around, and suddenly we get so focused on the enemy, we forget we're supposed to be taking care of the crops, taking care of the harvest, taking care of what God has called us to do right here and right now. And I feel like for some people, maybe you've kept your eye on the enemy, and the despair that is there has almost seeped into where you are now. And I want to say, you know what? We have the ability to say no. Around my area of influence, in my life, in this sphere, I am saying no to despair and yes to hope and to the faith and the favor of God over my life and over everything I'm doing. Just because I can still see the enemy does not mean that he's ruling my life or he has a right to speak into what I'm doing. I have a right to declare truth, to declare hope, to declare faith. And what is going to happen is the enemy is going to be displaced bit by bit by bit as the crops and the harvest that I'm called to build begins to grow and to grow and to influence and to spread out further and further and further. The enemy has to go because God is beginning to grow in where you are and in your area of influence. And that's what I pray for you today. That's what I'm declaring over your life today. Use the scripture as an encouragement. Use the scripture in your prayer time to say, no, I am not going to get into a place of despair. Despair is for my enemy. My responsibility are the crops, quote unquote, God, that you have called me to plant, to take care of, to see grow, and to reap an amazing harvest, to influence earth for heaven and for your glory. That's why we're here. That's my prayer for you. Be encouraged today.